why is awareness important to our well-being? Why is it not just, okay, or maybe it is okay to be distracted 47% of the time? Why is that something we need to be aware of and something we need to work on?
Well, it's a great question. Thank you for opening with that, Jay. Actually, the study was published in the journal Science, the original study, 10 years ago. And it was a study by 2 Harvard psychologists. And it was a very simple study. Basically, what they did, so I'll describe it briefly first so you know what the details are. They took advantage of the fact that most people carry smartphones these days, and with the participants' permission, they texted them at multiple points in the day, and they asked them 3 questions. The first question is, what are you doing right now? And they checked off from a list of activities what they were doing at the moment they were texted. The second question is, where is your mind right now, right at the moment that you're texted? Is it focused on what you're doing, or is it focused elsewhere? And the third question is, how happy or unhappy are you right now, right at this moment? And they rated their level of happiness or unhappiness. And what they found, as Jay described, is that the average adult, and I should say this was done in about 3,500 people across many different parts of the world. So this is not just in the US, this is global. And what they found is that the average person spends 47% of her or his waking life not paying attention to what they're doing. Now, the finding on the third question in part answers Jay's question. The third question that they asked is, how happy or unhappy are you? And what they found is that when people were distracted, when people were not paying attention to what they were doing, they were significantly less happy, even if what they were doing was kind of boring, like washing the dishes or doing the laundry. Being distracted is toxic for our well-being. And the title of this scientific paper really says it all. The title was, "A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind." And so being distracted takes a toll on our well-being.
Beautiful. And so this gives us the motivation to practice awareness. And what this group is going to be exploring today are some of those practices. So what does the science tell us about the benefits of practicing awareness in the way we're going to explore today?
Well, the first thing that the science teaches us is that it is possible to nurture this capacity of awareness that we all have. And so that's really the great news, is that our minds and our brains exhibit plasticity. And by plasticity, we simply mean that it can change. It can change in response to experience, but also it can be transformed through intentional training. And the training that you will be offered is intentional training to actually train the mind. And the research shows that when we train the mind, we can actually change the brain. The brain changes, and the brain changes in ways that we think enable these changes to endure over time. Because after all, we don't really practice for the kinds of experiences that we might have during the time that we're practicing. Then it would be just like a drug. And then after we finish practicing, if everything goes back to, quote, the way it was, then what's the point of practicing? And so the findings show that when we train our mind in this way, the impact endures. It actually impacts really every nook and cranny of our everyday lives, so that we can be more sensitive to what's going on. We can be more aware of what's going on in our external world and in our internal world, in our minds and our bodies. And this could be enormously valuable because there's stuff going on all the time, and we're typically so unaware of it. And bringing it into awareness, bestowing it with this gift of awareness, enables us to harness this information in ways that were previously opaque. So this is something so fundamental. And I should also mention, and then I'll stop answering this question because I can go on for the whole time about this. William James, who is America's first great psychologist, is one of my heroes. He wrote an extraordinary book in 1890 called The Principles of Psychology. And he has a whole chapter on attention in this book. And he said in this chapter on attention, and this is a quote, he said, "The faculty of voluntarily bringing back a wandering attention over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will." And then James went on to say that an education which should improve this faculty would be the education par excellence. And all of you are being treated to exactly this education.